You're back with us on America's Forum. We're glad to have you. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
We certainly are, J.D. I'm John Bachman. We're going to continue talking about the hearing going on right now on Capitol Hill. At least it was a few minutes ago. I think we're still looking at a live picture right there. That is former Deputy CIA Director Mike Morrell testifying before lawmakers. A rare hearing today happening in public in the House Intelligence Committee. Of course, Morrell has been accused of dismissing the reporting of U.S. personnel on the ground in Libya during the attack on the U.S. consulate on September 11, 2012, including that of the chief of station there in Libya. A top CIA official here, a long veteran of the CIA, making a plea for bipartisanship during his opening statement before the committee today.
And speaking of bipartisanship and, heck, rank partisanship in the House of Representatives, a guy who's seen it all along with me, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. Let's continue on the bipartisan theme, Pete. We thank you for spending some time with us today. The outgoing chairman of the committee, your fellow Michigander, Mike Rogers, has made much of this House Intelligence Committee being truly bipartisan. What you know of the hearings today, is it going to remain bipartisan? Please forgive the cynical nature, this sweetness and light. And speaking of light, are we going to learn something here publicly today from Morrell's testimony?
Well, a couple of things. I think it's going to be very, very hard to maintain a bipartisan flavor on this. On the Benghazi stuff. There's nothing bipartisan about it. The Obama administration misled Congress, misled the American people 2 months before the presidential election in 2012 by providing disinformation. They started the whole Benghazi thing off in a very, very partisan, unprofessional way, and I believe they made the intelligence community part of their efforts to hide the truth on what happened in Benghazi. So I think it's going to be hard. I'm not sure we're going to learn a lot. I did find it amazing. I just watched the first half hour or so of the hearing where, the Deputy Secretary Mike Morrell came out and said, the CIA analyst, the best analyst in the world, said that there was a protest. And it's kind of like, you could have been a deputy sleuth with a CIA little badge that you'd buy in the dime store that would have known that there was no protest because your own CIA personnel on the ground in Benghazi were telling you that there was no protest. So Morrell's got a lot of explaining to do, and he didn't start it off very well.
Well, two questions come out of this, Pete. Number one, your personal assessment of Michael Morrell, is he a bureaucratic survivor who is going to become a shapeshifter to navigate the shoals of partisan sentiment? Is he a straight-shooting guy? And then what he is suggesting, as you just pointed out in this hearing, forgive the crass way I'm stating this, but it sounds like the triumph of the desk jockeys, the analysts at Langley deciding something instead of listening to the people who are on the ground. Is that where his narrative is taking us?
I think that's where the narrative is taking us. Hey, when I knew Mike Morrell and he came and testified, and my work with him, he was always a straight shooter. That's why I find what happened here kind of out of character. But much of what happened and is happening in the intelligence community under President Obama is uncharacteristic of where that community used to be. I think that this president has politicized the intelligence community, has politicized the very nature of intelligence, and it's gone away from, providing information to policyholders or policymakers so that they could make better informed decisions to writing talking points for the White House, which is a very dangerous place for the White House to go, or for the CIA to go. That's not what they should be doing.
Well, Pete, we're looking at this and following up on what J.D. was asking before. If Mike Morrell, who testified under oath today at Congress that he was not influenced or pressured to change those talking points from the White House, and he said he didn't change them, so if it wasn't him and if he didn't receive any pressure from the White House, where did the talking points get out of whack?
I don't know where they got out of whack. I mean, all the testimonies from a number of different sources indicated that Mike Morrell was very influential in shaping the final talking points. I've seen reports that have said that he deleted up to 50% of the talking points that were provided through the different iterative processes. That he was very influential in what the final outcome was, and that he was the person that shaped them. We may never know the conversations that he would have had with the White House, with the State Department, or whatever. And he can always characterize them as saying, well, hey, they were discussions about substance. They were substantive discussions. They were never about politics. Where J.D. and I, having been there, said, excuse me, Mike, they were all about politics. There was nothing substance here. It would be very, very difficult to prove that they were political points that were being made. He would just argue that they were, that the input that he received from the White House or from state were nothing more than substantive discussion.
But it's hard to ignore as well the fact that when this took place, JD, and we were talking about this morning, September 11, 2012, just a few months before the presidential election, and if this was a terrorist attack, if the White House did have to come out and say it was a terrorist attack, it totally skewers the whole president's argument at that time that al-Qaeda was on the run. Now, if we are to believe Morrell, it's very hard to believe that this is not politically motivated, even if you want to.
Oh, you're talking to somebody who was running for the U.S. Senate at that time and was running on a platform that this president was dangerous for American national security. And when, our nominee didn't challenge the Benghazi explanation and those types of things, and when the president and the White House came out with this explanation, it just papered over what I thought would have been potentially a game changer in 2012 in presidential elections and Senate elections.
And Pete, with that in mind,
it was all about politics.
Well, and that's the bottom line here. And I'm going to ask you to connect the dots, Pete. Maybe putting you on the hot seat, but it's nothing that you're not able to handle. I see this, and I look at curious behavior of others in government that seem to do a 180. The Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, on Obamacare, the tax versus fee argument. Mike Morrell, who is supposed to be a by-the-book guy, and now suddenly offering testimony meek and mild, and in concert, it appears, with what we're hearing from the White House. Is something going on here? Is there kind of a Chicago-style initiation for crucial government figures who from time to time get national or congressional scrutiny? Do you feel any of that in your gut is going on with this crowd now in the White House?
Well, sure, it is Chicago-style politics. I mean, this president has used, executive orders. Think about what he's doing to the coal industry and those types of things. Think about his use of the IRS. This guy has used every branch of government to further his policy objectives and to further his political objectives. And the bottom line, most of mainstream media has given this guy a pass. If George W. Bush had tried to do even half of what this administration did, there would have been calls for impeachment. And this president, like I said, he's getting a free pass.
We hear you, Pete. We want to thank you very much for your comments. We want to hear from you. You can get to us at social media. There is more to come here on America's Forum. Please